Welcome everybody, I'm Aaron Duncan here, back again with another video on Unnecessary Bluntness Sports Talk. This channel, we might not tell you what you want to hear. I'm definitely going to tell you what you need to hear. And I give recap, analysis, breakdowns of the NFL, man. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button because I do these post-game reactions that I'm going to start doing on Sunday immediately after the games. And you don't want to miss those. So make sure you hit the bell icon too. That way YouTube will send you a notification when I do go live and when I do drop any new videos. But let's get into this video because today we're talking about the Week 3 matchup between the LA Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are traveling to the West Coast, going back to Cali. You already know the cliche songs that they play. But Carolina's going to be going west for a 4 o'clock matchup against the Chargers. And we know all the drama that happened last week with the LA Chargers, man. They had the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs, and they had them on the ropes. Unfortunately, they're not the only team that can say that. There's a lot of teams that had the Chiefs on the ropes. But the Chiefs are just the comeback kids. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. There's no shame in losing because we all know what happened last week with Tyrod Taylor, the drama pregame, and now more information has come out that he actually had a punctured lung from taking a shot to the rib from a doctor for some painkillers. So it's a crazy situation, man. But we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my 3 biggest things to watch in this game that may or may not have a big impact on the game. Usually when I do these videos, I'm typically right. So listen to these 3 things. Make sure you hear all 3 of them. Let me know what you think about it. Matter of fact, before we get into it, let me know your prediction for the game, the score, down in the comments. If you get it right, I'll give you a shout out on Sunday on my predictions, on my reaction video. So let me know down below in the comments what your score prediction for this game is and who you think is going to win. So my first big thing to watch is going to be Justin Herbert's official first start. Now, I know technically on the stat sheet, he got the credit for being a starter last week because it was almost a game-time decision when it happened with Tyrod Taylor. Everything was supposed to go as planned to him playing, but once he had that shortness of breath, he wasn't allowed to play. Justin Herbert got sprung into it, and he actually had a pretty good game, throwing for over 66% of his passes and for over 300 yards, ran for a touchdown, threw a touchdown, had a turnover, but, I mean, he's a rookie in his first ever start. That was kind of Johnny on the spot. He looked pretty good. I actually watched the full game, and he looked pretty good for the circumstances, So the thing about it is he didn't have a whole week of prepping. Last week, Tyrod Taylor took some reps for the first team. I know he was beat up, but this week, Justin Herbert is the bona fide starter. He's going to get all the time this week to prepare with the offensive coordinator, with the receivers, with the weapons, make sure they're getting their rhythm a little bit better, making sure they get plays in the playbook that he's a lot more comfortable with, and put together a game plan that he could possibly have even more success in. And throwing for completing 66% of your passes and throwing for over 300 yards seems pretty comfortable to me, but we'll see what happens when he has a full week to prepare for him. The Panthers, their defense is not great. They have a lack of talent on that side, and they have a lot of youth, and they haven't really been able to get much pressure up front. So that's the thing about some of these rookie quarterbacks. You want to kind of speed up their clock because when they're in the game, they don't realize how fast the game is compared to the college game. So the more pressure you can get on these young quarterbacks, it speeds up their mental clock, and you could possibly force some mistakes. The Panthers don't have any sacks on the year. That's the sad part. They don't have any sacks. They got a little bit of pressure last week, and it seems like Brian Burns, their first-round pick from last year, has been the only defensive lineman that's been showing some signs of life when it comes to getting to that quarterback. He put some pressure on Tom Brady a little bit last week, and it forced a turnover. This team doesn't force many turnovers because they probably don't get much pressure on the quarterback. A lot of times those things go hand in hand for those reasons I explained because it speeds up that mental clock for any quarterback, and especially for younger quarterbacks. So we'll need to see if the Panthers can get pressure on them and how they'll be able to handle all the weapons that Justin Herbert will have at his disposal. He has Austin Eckler, Kelly and Jackson at running back, Hunter Henry at tight end, and the matchups on the outside are very favorable with Mike Williams, the size. I mean, he's like 6'6", and our tallest corner is probably about 5'11", with Rasul Douglas. He'll probably be matched up on him. We'll probably put Dante Jackson, who is small but fast, on Keenan Allen. And these matchups aren't great, and Justin Herbert, he may be able to take advantage. Not to mention he's a little bit mobile. People don't give him credit for the athleticism that Justin Herbert actually has. So it'll be interesting to see how he matches up. The Panthers defense, man, it's going to be about them just minimizing the mistakes and the penalties. They had some spots where they've been no good because they forced the 3 and out on the first drive of every game so far. But they later on in the game, when they get off the field and get ready to get off on third down, they'll make a dumb penalty like a hands to the face or a late hit that extends drives. And typically when you extend drives for good quarterbacks or quality quarterbacks, they're going to take advantage and get some points out of that drive if you give them a second chance. So we'll see how they match up, if they're able to force some mistakes against Justin Herbert, or will they make any mistakes on their own? Because both sides are young. You have a young quarterback versus a young defense. So it'll be interesting to see the push and pull on that side. The second key is the Panthers offensive line versus the defensive line of the San Diego Chargers. Now, the Panthers offensive line did give up 5 sacks last week to a ferocious Tampa Bay Bucks defense. You know, this Tampa Bay Bucks front seven is one of the best in the league, and Todd Bowles is one of the most aggressive blitzers in the NFL. They run that 3-4 and they get after that quarterback. We're going to see something similar this week with Bosa, Ingram, and those guys like that. Those guys are mean. You know, last week they did only get 1 sack versus Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. He's very mobile. He's very creative. He's very crafty. But they still hit him 8 times, and they pretty much had him under pressure the whole game. And Pat Mahomes was never really comfortable for the majority of the game, which is the reason why they went to overtime after only scoring 20 points in regulation, with most of that coming within the fourth quarter. This Chargers defense is for real. You know what I'm saying? They have talent at corner also, but it's gonna come down to up front. Russell Okung, we know about the offseason trade where we traded Russell Okung for Trey Turner, and we pretty much swapped linemen. Russell Okung is gonna be our left tackle, and we'll see if he'll have any kind of leg up or be able to give some insight and help give some tips to these guys, because he practiced and played with Ingram and Bosa for the past few years before he came to Carolina. So maybe he has some experience practicing against these guys. I haven't looked too much into it. I don't know if he gets abused in practice by them or he actually holds his own and he was able to get better by competing against some of the best D linemen in the league. These two guys in Ingram and Bosa get after the quarterback with just pure effort, relentlessness, and a hard, tough motor. So it'll be up to the offense and Joe Brady to help the offensive line take the pressure off of them by mixing in some screens, some quick passes, maybe some RPOs every so often, because Teddy Bridgewater is not nearly as mobile as Patrick Mahomes. So if he's more of a pocket guy anyway. So you're going to need to keep some kind of pocket clean for Teddy to be able to operate and find some of our wide receivers and weapons in this game. The third thing to pay attention to goes hand in hand with that last point, and it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater and how he plays without Christian McCaffrey. Now, of course, it's going to be a big blow. You lose your best player, the best running back in the National Football League, for 4 to 6 weeks. He's definitely just been put on IR, so at least 3 weeks. So with so much production, with him playing 93% of the snaps and him being responsible for such a huge chunk of offensive yardage production and touchdown production for this team, it's going to be interesting to see how the game plan goes. Now, Matt Rhule, the head coach, has said that they have a lot of faith in Mike Davis, and they don't expect the game plan to change much. If that's the case, expect Mike Davis to get 20-plus touches. And is he capable of doing that? Mike Davis is a very good, versatile running back. Now, he doesn't have the route running skills as Christian McCaffrey, and he's not as shifty in open field, but he's a hard runner. He can hit the hole. He knows what he's doing. He's a veteran. He's experienced. And he's a South Carolina Gamecock, so you know how they do. They keep it real. You know what I'm saying? They breed some good, tough guys like that. But nevertheless, Mike Davis, he is capable, but the pressure's going to be on Teddy Bridgewater, you know? So this system is kind of new for everybody anyway. So how are they going to carve out and divvy up those touches? I've heard rumors of Curtis Samuel playing some running back too. I want to see them get some quick passing game going with Teddy Bridgewater, get him comfortable, get him in the rhythm, get him on the scripted plays that he's comfortable with early on. That way he gets a feel for the game and a feel for the pressure up front, keep them off balance, because that's going to be the key. If we can get the running game going, get the screen game going, mix in some media and a couple of deep passes like we have been trying to do and stay consistent, we can keep that front four off balance. That way Ingram and Bosa aren't breathing down Teddy Bridgewater's neck and taking his lunch money all day, because if you give them a chance, they will. Now, the thing I'm really paying attention to about Teddy is Teddy Bridgewater is a fairly young quarterback. He's been on 3 different teams. 4 different teams if you count the Jets, but that was short-lived before he got traded to the New Orleans Saints. Nevertheless, my point is, with those 3 teams, if you look at what he had around him, he had a great running back to turn around and hand that ball off to. Think about it. In Minnesota, in his first 2 years, he had Adrian Peterson. Granted, his rookie year, Adrian Peterson was out for the season, but the following year, when Teddy actually got a full chance to get the reins of the offense,
Adrian Peterson had an MVP caliber year. He had over 2,000 yards, was comeback player of the year. He had always had that bit to rely on. Teddy Bridgewater, worst case scenario, could turn around, hand that ball off. He gets traded to the Saints last year. Finally gets his chance to play. He goes 5-0. Think about it. He had Kamara, he had Latavius Murray, and of course, not to mention the weapons on the outside and a great offensive line that kept him very comfortable. That way, he didn't really have to worry about carrying the mail. He had guys he could hand it off to, dump it off to. He had one of the best wide receivers in the league you could throw a slant to and stuff like that. And not to mention a brilliant experienced head coach that was able to craft game plans that he was comfortable with. This time around, he has an offensive coordinator he's a little bit more comfortable with, but he doesn't have the experience that Sean Payton has. He doesn't have that high caliber running back behind him anymore like Christian McCaffrey was, nor does he have the best wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL on the outside. Granted, he has some competent weapons in Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore like that, but the offensive line definitely isn't as good as New Orleans' offensive line. And like I said, the play calling experience isn't always there. So we'll be able to see what we really have in Teddy. Is Teddy a guy that can actually elevate the talent around him? Or is he a game manager? That game manager title has been getting thrown around a lot this week. Teddy kind of doesn't like that term, but he needs to prove to everybody that that's not the case. This is the perfect chance to do it, because when you have some of these good quarterbacks in the league that aren't game managers, what they do, they elevate the play of guys around them. What do you see with Tom Brady most of his career and Cam Newton now? They have a little bit of talent around them, not much, but their play and their effect on the game elevates. So the guys that are around them that may not be stars actually play a lot better just because the quarterback helps them play a lot better than that. So we'll be able to see if Teddy can actually carry a team and help elevate the play of the offense in general. You know what I'm saying? So I would be interested to see that. You guys let me know how you feel about all these points that I made down below in the comments. And what will you be watching for the closest? And let me know your prediction down in the comments. My prediction, the moment you guys all been waiting for, my prediction is the Chargers win in a very close game. I have the score at 22-16. You know what I'm saying? I think it's going to be an offensive struggle for the Panthers because I don't think they're going to be able to block the front four. And I think that the Chargers offense is not going to be clicking on all cylinders, but they definitely have a lot of weapons. And the young quarterback may struggle a little bit. I do see the Panthers defense playing a lot better than we have seen them play before. But I still think they just have too many weapons, and they won't get enough help from the offensive side of the ball for the Panthers to pull out this win. Not to mention they're going to be traveling on the road. So that's my prediction. You guys let me know down below in the comments yours. But without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan signing off. I'll see you next time. Peace.